And then we headed down to Duplo Valley to get the third roller coaster at Legoland Windsor, and this is of course the Duplo Dino Coaster, which is themed to the dinosaurs of the Duplo Lego theme, and this is the smallest of the coasters at Legoland, consisting of a short curved kicker wheel lift hill into a very small banked drop, heading up round into a bank turn and then back round into the station. This coaster gives you 2 laps, and it is obviously the smallest coaster aimed at very young children, but I just really wanted to get all the coasters in. It's got some good theming around it. The signature theming piece really is the Duplo Dino structure, which is a structure in the middle of the bank turn, which features 2 Duplo dinosaurs rotating round on a platform. So that adds quite a bit of theming to it. Also, the actual track is quite vibrant, with a bright blue track and bright green supports. And also the train for the coaster is very vibrant and fitting with the theme, of course being a very brightly coloured Duplo built dinosaur. And the train consists of 5 2-seater cars, each of them being a different colour of yellow, orange or pink, along with a vibrant green base, blue spots on the actual car itself. And the front car is a vibrant blue and green head of the dinosaur, and the back car is a vibrant blue tail, which means the total train sits 10 people. And it's just a fun coaster for younger children to build up to those bigger coasters. But it's just another coaster to get in, really, being the smallest. But again, it's got some nice theming. Also, the landscaping is really quite nice around it. As well, underneath, there's quite a bit of plant life around the coaster, including a lot of bushes. And the station's pretty well themed as well, because obviously you've got the logo on there. There's also a Duplo dinosaur just outside the entrance as well, and there's also a few graphics on the front facade of the station with Duplo dinosaurs, and there's also a palm tree similar to that of the one on the Duplo dino structure. But overall, it's really just a fun junior coaster at that small scale for the younger audience of Legoland Windsor. And then we headed to another ride, and this is also in Duplo Valley, and this is Fairy Tale Brook, which is the boat ride. And this is a really fun ride, obviously taking you through various different fairy tale scenes. It is a really well themed ride, and it is very relaxing. The boats themselves are actually themed to a very vibrant green leaf as you're travelling through the ride. And obviously having the leaf as the boat on this ride just makes it feel a bit more magical, I think, as you're travelling around all of the different fairy tale scenes. So starting off with the actual theming, there's a lot to look at on the ride, and the first of those scenes is the 3 little pigs with the big bad wolf. You've also got the houses, the 3 houses, which is really good theming as well. And then the next scene is Sleeping Beauty, which actually takes place in quite a large castle set piece, and then inside is Sleeping Beauty and the prince. The next scene is Hansel and Gretel with the gingerbread house, and also the old woman comes out of the house from out of the gingerbread house. Then there is Snow White, and you've got a Lego model of Snow White, and then the 7 dwarfs on the other side. Then there is Cinderella, and then you see the carriage and the fairy godmother, and then on the other side of that set piece is another Lego model of Cinderella in the dress for the ball. Then there is an Aladdin scene, which is one of the most impressive scenes because you actually go inside Aladdin's cave, and you've got all the treasure inside there. There's all these like glowing different coloured lighting effects in the ceiling, and then you actually see Aladdin with the lamp and the genie, which it's really impressive scene, because obviously there's so much to look at in that scene. Then you've got the 3 bears just next to Goldilocks in the bear's house, and you've got the table set up with the porridge, and you've got the bed with Goldilocks in it, and then there is Little Red Riding Hood, and she is just knocking on the door on her granny's house, and then you go around the other side, and then the big bad wolf is in the bed. Then there is a little bit of a finale scene where you've got Snow White and one of the dwarfs, and then just after that you've got Little Red Riding Hood and the big bad wolf inside a book which says fairy tales on it, and that's just a nice extra scene really to end the ride. And overall it's a fun family attraction, and it is a must-do when visiting Legoland, because it's a really fun and well-themed attraction with a lot to look at, and there's plenty of different Lego models to see on this boat ride. And then finally, this is my on-ride photo from Fairy Tale Brook. And then we headed to another attraction, and this is yet another dark ride, and this is the final dark ride to do at Legoland Windsor. And this is of course Laser Raiders, which is the traditional interactive shooting dart ride with the laser guns. The ride experience of course starts with the fantastic facade, and with the Egyptian theming. It's got a really good facade. You've got this huge like actual Lego model of a pharaoh in one of the 2 towers on the sides. It's a sandstone building, but it's got some yellow and blue details on it, done in stripes. It's got these pillars, and you've also got these 2 towers, and one of them has got the pharaoh inside, and there's also these carved sandstone pillars built out of Lego bricks, and they're just outside, just next to the entrance area. The entrance to Laser Raiders is just in the centre. Also at the top of the building there's these like Lego bricks done in sandstone across the top to make the facade a ruin of a tomb, but it's all done in Lego bricks. From that point on you go through the entrance to the ride and into the queue. It's quite a well themed queue, featuring quite a bit of theming, some of that including a Lego model of Anubis, one of the Egyptian gods, and also there is a mural of him done in Lego bricks as well, just on the wall. And you've also got these carved sandstone pillars, similarly to on the exterior. So it's quite a well themed queue, obviously again fitted with that Egyptian theme. And then just after that, there's a photo opportunity in the queue, because you get a photo on ride, but you also get one in the queue, and that gets done then. And then actually heading onto the ride, and it's a really good fun ride. Obviously being a laser blaster shooting ride, the cars themselves are really well themed. There's like a Lego sort of off-roader vehicle going through the tomb, and it's just kind of a really well themed Egyptian shooting ride, which it's really enjoyable. So starting out with these scenes, the first scene features the main explorer of the ride, who is Johnny Thunder, and the first scene is Johnny Thunder in front of part of the temple ruin, and there's all like bricks coming down, and he's also standing in between two pillars. Then the next scene, there is a pharaoh, and also you've got Pippin Reed, who is another explorer, and she is trapped in a spider's web. The next scene, there are carvings of a pharaoh and Anubis. There's also a skeleton in front of a pillar, and then the next scene features Dr. Charles Lightning, the detective, and he is holding his magnifying glass looking into a globe. Also in this scene you've got a carving on the wall of the Eye of Horus. The next scene, there's an interactive feature where there's skeletons in pots, and then you shoot the target and the skeleton comes out of the pot, which is a really good interactive feature. And the next scene is a skeleton band, and they're all playing music. There's also a pharaoh head statue in there as well. The next scene is Pippin Reed, and then you've got the main enemy, and he is Lord Sam Sinister, and he is blowing up part of the temple. So you've got these two pillars, and then right in the centre you've got Lord Sam Sinister holding a piece of dynamite. There's also barrels and crates full of dynamite. And also in this scene you've got these sculptures of cobras on the wall. And the next scene has a fantastic effect, where you've got this screen with like a corridor in the temple on it, but around that is like this ruin kind of look, where all the walls are broken around it, and then that's there's a light that comes on just behind that screen, and that puts the focus on a scene that's just behind there, which shows Sam Sinister holding a piece of dynamite, and you can see part of the temple ruin, and there's all like broken pieces of the sandstone wall on the floor after he's actually blown that section of the temple up with all that dynamite and explosives. There is a scene with a closed pharaoh sarcophagus. Then there's another scene with another pharaoh statue. There's also a carving of a pharaoh on the wall, and then you've got all the traps in the temple, so there's like spikes and arrows coming out of the wall. Then there is a scene with a sarcophagus, and it is got a pharaoh on it, and then it opens and you've got Pippin Reed inside, and then Sam Sinister comes out of a box. And then the next scene is the final scene. It's the big finale, where you've found all the hidden treasure in the temple, and the main enemy, North and Sinister, has been tied up in ropes by Dr. Charles Lightning, the detective, and Johnny Thunder, the main explorer. And that is how the ride ends, when you've found the hidden treasure in the temple. And overall, it's a really well themed experience. You've got the really well themed ride vehicles, with the off-roader, the Lego off-roader vehicle. You've also got all the different themed sandstone walls inside the actual ride, with the sandstone pillars on them. There's also some spiders and beetles all over the walls in some of the scenes, and you can shoot those as well as targets. And it's just a really good fun ride for all the family, with some really good theming, and the interactive shooting element is also really fun. And then finally for Laser Raiders is the photos, and the first one is the photo that you get done in the queue, and then the second photo is the on-ride photo from Laser Raiders. And then we headed to yet another attraction, and this is actually a flat ride, and is Scarab Bouncers, also in the Kingdom of the Pharaohs themed area. And this is a very small family flat ride. The two small frog hopper drop towers, but they are extremely well themed. You've got all these themed Egyptian lanterns hanging from the ceiling. You've also got these like drapes as well, with Egyptian patterns on them. You've also got the sandstone style wall around the back of the drop towers, as well as the actual drop towers themselves having sandstone details on them as well. Also the actual ride vehicle with the seats on for the ride has Ra, the Egyptian god, the bird. And also on the back wall there is a panel with Ra on it, and there's also some hieroglyphics on there as well. Also got hieroglyphics on the actual drop tower. And the actual ride experience is just a fun family ride with a little bit of airtime on there. It's a fun ride for the younger audience as well. But what really makes it is all that theming around there, all the Egyptian theming, with all the lanterns and all the drapes, and there's just a lot to look at while you're on the ride. And also it's right next to Laser Raiders as well, because the entrance is actually just next to the entrance to Laser Raiders in one of the towers on the facade. But overall, it's a really fun and really well themed family drop tower. And then we headed into Heart Lake City for the next ride, and this is Mia's riding adventure, which is the Zamperla Disco, and I really enjoyed it. It's quite a bit of a thrill ride for Legoland. A family thrill ride, but it still provides quite a bit of force, and it's really well themed as well, because you've got the station area is a stable, and then you actually get onto the ride, and on the actual the ride vehicle, the seats are actually themed to a Lego Friends horse, so you actually sit on a horse as you're going around on the flat ride. It's really good fun. It has quite a bit of G-force as you're coming back through the station area, and it's quite a large Zamperla Disco as well. Probably one of the largest ones I've ever done. And because of that, it means that it picks up a lot more speed as it's going through the station, so that obviously gives it a lot more force. And as well, it fits in with the Lego Friends theming. The actual ride is a bright green, and you've also got the station area. There's quite a vibrant look to it. It's got a lot of purple and a lot of red and yellow and pink on there. It really gives it that sort of vibrant look to it on the actual horse stable. And also the actual disc with all the horses on. Of course, the actual ride vehicle is a vibrant green colour, and with that and also the AstroTurf that's just underneath the ride, that does really add to it. And with that and the fact that the station and the entrance is a horse stable, it really does feel like you're going on a horse riding adventure. And also, because it's quite a tall ride, it is quite a large thrill ride for Legoland. You also get some fantastic views across the Heart Lake City area, and then of course dropping down and getting some decent force as you're going through there. And it's not the longest cycle on this, but what it does do is fantastic. Obviously, as well, it spins both ways, which is really good. As well as packing some good force into there, some great views. And I actually enjoyed this so much that I actually went on it twice. So I got on it a couple of times, which is fantastic because there wasn't much of a queue for it. And with the great theming and quite a thrilling ride experience, it is a fantastic attraction. And then we headed into Lego Mythica to do one of the flat rides in the area, and this is Fire and Ice Freefall, which are the two spinning drop towers. And these are really good fun. They've got some fantastic theming. Of course, you've got the station area, which is all like done in rock work, and the rock work has got like Lego bricks built into it. And also at the sides of the station, you've got these blue pillars, and on those in a lighter blue is a sort of mythical pattern on there. And included on that mythical pattern, and also built into the rock work, are these Lego studs done in light blue. And also the actual towers themselves, for the fire and ice look, they have blue at the bottom, and then that fades into white, and that fades into yellow, and then that fades into red, just to give it the proper look of Crystal Flame, the fire and ice bird, which is the mythical creature the ride is themed to. Because at the top of the drop towers, you've actually got this flame, and half of it is done in ice, and the other half is done in fire. And there's a screen in the middle of that, and on the screen is Crystal Flame, the fire and ice bird. So the actual towers themselves are also really well themed, and the actual ride experience is really good fun. You can get some good airtime on there, with some decent actual like drops. There's also some fantastic views across the Mythica themed area. You can see Flight of the Skyline and all across the area, which is really good. And the actual drop towers are quite tall as well. So that's what provides those fantastic views, is that the drop towers are actually really quite tall, which means you can get larger drops on there. And also, the overall ride experience is really good fun, with all that theming, like the rock work on the station, and that piece on top of the actual drop towers of the screen, and also the fact that the drop towers are quite tall, which provides some good views and also some decent drops, and obviously getting some fantastic airtime on there as well. And then we headed into Pirate Shores for the final ride of Legoland Windsor for us. And this is, of course, Pirate Falls Treasure Quest, the log flume at the park. It's only got one drop, but that one drop is insane. So, starting off, the actual boats themselves, of course the ride vehicles for this, are themed to pirate ships, and they're really well themed. So of course you board onto the actual boat, and then you leave the station, and that is where the actual ride experience begins. There's really just a nice sort of relaxing boat ride through all the trees. There's some fantastic theming, and the first of that is this giant treasure map that you go underneath, and there's also a pirate underneath. Then there is a scene, and this scene is there's 3 pirates in there, and they're in a bar, and there's a lot of like drinks barrels around, and all the pirates are sat around the tables. Then there is another scene, and there's a couple of pirates in a little pirate village, and there's a couple of houses there, and there's some crates and some barrels, and then also on the other side you've got all their clothes hanging up. And then just before the next scene, there's these monkeys with blasters, and there's a few of those just standing on the one side. And then you actually go into the pirate graveyard. You can look down, and there's all like gravestones down on the ground of all like the deceased pirates. Then there is probably the largest scene on the ride. It is in the lake. It takes place in a large lake. The reservoir just behind the ride. There's many different pirates in the water, and there's also a sunken ship. And then taking place on a sunken ship is the main pirate battle between the 2 lead pirates. There's also a giant octopus attacking this sunken ship, with the 2 pirates battling out on there. And then from that point onwards the ascent begins, and into a tunnel, and there's a few scenes in the tunnel. There's a few pirates in there, and one of them is actually setting off an explosive, and there's a lighting effect, and it's this red light, and the light travels through like a string of lights, and travels into a crate of dynamite and explosives, and that sends you down the drop, and this drop is an absolute soaker. So the boat just plummets down, and this huge splash comes out. I remember going on and thinking it doesn't really feel like much at first, but then all the water just piled on top of me, and I got absolutely soaked. It is one of the wettest water rides I've ever been on. It's insane. Also at the bottom of the drop there's a bit of theming. There's a couple of pirates, and there's also a sunken ship. And that drop is really the main end of the ride. And what a ride it is. Really well themed. Obviously you've got all those scenes just going through before the drop. You've also got the indoor scenes in the tunnel with the dynamite, and that blows you up and sends you down the drop. And even when there's not that much theming, there's still like barrels and crates dotted around, which really adds to it as well. There's always something to look at on there, and really I'm glad we did this as the last ride, because I got so drenched on it. Really, that one drop really does pack a punch. And then finally from Pirate Falls Treasure Quest is the final on-ride photo. And that brings us to the end of this vlog from Legoland Windsor, and it's been a fantastic time here, riding the coasters and the dark rides, and obviously the final ride, the Pirate Falls Treasure Quest, which is brilliant water ride. You get soaked on there, and it's been amazing seeing all the theming, because of course it is a fantastically themed park. And also getting all those new rides in. Of course, I'd have to say that my favourite ride is Flight of the Sky Lion, just because there's so much to look at, and it's also such an immersive experience as well. And that wraps up this vlog from Legoland Windsor Resort.